So Canada, as of today, has collapsed even further. I know we're doing a lot of politics on the podcast as of late, but something happened today. Tonight was actually going to be a break night for me. I was planning on not going out, not filming. Normally, if you guys know me, I go by Exploring with Angelo, separate channel here on YouTube. Normally I go out exploring, hunting ghosts, go out into the forest late at night, that sort of thing. But tonight we were kind of taking a break because Frank wasn't feeling too good. So I'm just like, it's okay. We'll do it tomorrow and then we'll probably film again over the weekend. Then I got a text message as I was driving. My friend Mo sent me a text message that I thought at first was either a joke or some conspiracy post on X. As it turns out, it's real. Justin Trudeau and the Liberal government of Canada have effectively banned, I believe it was another 340 models of firearms here in Canada. And it's a joke. It's bad. And I'm going to explain in a few moments as to why it's so stupid. And you can't even take it seriously if you know things about guns. You'll understand in a few moments. So basically, we got an article. This is what came up. This is from True North. Feds adding models to firearms ban, plan to donate confiscated guns to Ukraine. This is actually hilarious because before coming in here, I called my dad, and he's, like myself, a gun advocate. And I'm like, so Trudeau just banned all of my guns. All the guns that I own are all outright banned, effective immediately. And I'm supposed to apparently bring them back to the government out of their buyback program and whatever. But we'll get to all that in a moment. And then I told him what they're going to do with the guns. I actually asked him, what do you think they're going to do with the guns? And he paused for a moment and he goes, send them to Ukraine? He didn't know any of this had even happened. And I'm like, yeah, you got it. Nail on the head. It is insane. Apparently, this is not a joke. They're actually planning on taking firearms from Canadian citizens and sending them overseas to Ukraine to fight the Russians, which is kind of ridiculous because a lot of the firearms that are on this list, which we are going to go over in a moment, you would not want to use them in any sort of actual military combat situation. It's actually so laughable that I couldn't even help but break out into laughter as I was going over the list. But let's read this. The Trudeau government announced yet another round of models will be added to its long gun ban, further prohibiting over 300 firearms that were not included in its initial sweeping ban introduced 4 years ago. So yes, they did ban several firearms like M16s, AR-15s, AK-47s. There were a lot of firearms that were actually banned. I believe it was May of 2020. And then I believe it was 2022, they actually banned handguns, essentially. Any pistols you could not buy, sell, or transfer anywhere, or import or export into Canada. Minister of Public Safety Dominic LeBlanc said an additional 324 firearms will be added to the original list of 1,500 that were banned under Bill C-21 in 2020, which passed through the Senate last year. These firearms can no longer be legally used, sold, or imported in Canada. LeBlanc told reporters on Thursday. There's actually a video here. Let's listen to this goof.
Today, the government is adding a further 324 unique makes and models of assault-style firearms.
Now, keyword here, I do apologize if the volume is a little bit low. I don't know why it's so low. It's low in my headphones, but whatever. So keyword here is assault-style rifle ban. Not an assault rifle, whatever the hell that even really means, because realistically, if I were to take this pen and assault someone with it, would that not mean that this pen effectively becomes an assault pen? So if I were to stab and murder somebody with this pen, now making it an assault pen, any pen that looks like this pen or might be designed somewhat like this pen, according to how it looks, would now effectively be banned. This is where we are at in Canada. But let's keep listening to what this guy had to say.
to the list of prohibited firearms in Canada. This prohibition takes effect immediately. This means these firearms can no longer be legally used, sold, or imported in Canada, and can only be transferred or transported under extremely limited circumstances. The government has introduced an amnesty that is currently in force and expires on October 30th, 2025, to protect individuals who legally purchased these firearms prior to the ban. This amnesty period will protect these individuals from criminal liability as they take steps to come into compliance with the law. During the amnesty period, there is an exception to allow Indigenous peoples exercising a right under Section 35 of the Constitution, as well as those who use firearms for sustenance hunting, to continue to use their now prohibited firearms to hunt, if previously non-restricted, until a suitable replacement can be found. As with the previous list of firearms, these models will, of course, be part of the assault-style firearms compensation program. And to that end, I'm pleased to point out that the pilot program of Phase 1 of the gun buyback program is now underway. The program will be open for all businesses in the coming days. As part of that process, the Government of Canada has committed to the Ukrainian government to identify whether some of these guns could be donated to support the fight for democracy in Ukraine. My colleague Bill Blair will speak on this in a few moments. In addition to banning these guns, we're also taking action on the regulatory front. Next Friday, December 13th, we will table regulations to ensure that no firearm can come into Canada or be sold in Canada without first being approved by the RCMP. And no later than the end of January, we will table additional measures in Parliament to address the rates of gun violence in situations of gender-based and intimate partner violence. We will also introduce further regulations on red and yellow flag laws early this spring.
Oh boy.
Regulations on large capacity magazines no later than March.
Oh, so now they're going to start banning large. What constitutes a large capacity magazine? So here in Canada, typically, I mean, they're all banned as of today, essentially. But here in Canada, all magazines typically, if they're used for a long gun or rifle, can only be max 5 rounds. Are they planning on even reducing that limit? So this is for my high point. You can see where the actual pin is. I don't know if you can see right there. So typically they're 5 rounds. If they make a magazine that is designed technically for a pistol, it can be 10 rounds. So some of those, you know, I guess high capacity, which is really not a high capacity, 5 to 10 rounds is not a high capacity. I believe 40, 45 might be considered a high capacity, but we're already restricted and limited as legal firearm owners here in Canada to begin with. Now, the other thing, there are a lot of guns on the list that are simply, they fire 22s. 22, so this is a 9mm. It's really hard to get out of this magazine, but that is a 9mm right there. Very small. They have effectively banned rifles that use rounds that are maybe, what would a 22 be in comparison to a 9mm? Like maybe 1/8 the size. Not a very effective assault rifle. So if essentially what they've gone and done here is now banned any big, scary looking gun that would be not something that would look that you would typically use to go hunting. However, you can use these types of rifles to go hunting if you wanted to. They're effective. right? For purposes of hunting and sports shooting. That's literally the only thing you can do in Canada. Technically speaking, even self-defense in Canada is highly restricted when it comes to firearms. If somebody were to break into your house and threaten your family with a knife, technically speaking, by law, you cannot take your gun and shoot that person. You could argue, however, and this is kind of a gray area because there is no supposedly there's a law. According to that, you can defend yourself with a gun if they're about to shoot you with a gun. But even that technically is like a gray area. We don't have self-defense laws really here in Canada. Back when Stephen Harper was prime minister, he was supposedly on the verge of creating a self-defense law. But yeah, this is basically what we're stuck with. So we have, so the government has now essentially banned all of my rifles, right? All my big, scary looking military style rifles that I take to protect myself up in the mountains when I'm filming against things like dangerous animals like moose or grizzly bears that can absolutely kill a human being without a doubt. But I guess I'll have to purchase something else. It's insane because here in Canada, we have some of the most restrictive and rigorous rules. And that even comes down to the safety. Before they actually even give you a license to purchase a firearm, you have to go through a very expensive weekend-long course in order to learn how to safely use a firearm, which is okay. It's understandable, but it still definitely restricts us from any right to actually keeping and bearing arms here in Canada because it's very expensive and very time-consuming. It's not as simple as it is in the United States with the Second Amendment, where you can simply just walk into a firearm store, fill out an application, and 10 minutes later you can walk out with your firearm. It doesn't work that way here in Canada unless you're licensed. If you have the card, which is a PAL, possession acquisition license, then at that point you can show up to a Cabela's, Bass Pro, or any firearms outlet across a firearms store rather. Across Canada, you can show up, show them that card, and then buy ammo, whatever you need. But in this case, they've now added 300 guns to this list. It is insane. There's more to it. Let's see what the rest of this article, because I'm still this is still breaking. So we're still kind of learning about what the hell just happened. The added measures will also include donating some of the confiscated firearms to Ukraine to aid the country in its fight against Russia. Now, one of my major issues is the tax implications to this. First off, if there are 1 million of these firearms, first of all, how much money are they going to actually offer us? Let's do the math. But if they're going to offer us, let's say $1,000 per gun. Now, most of these guns, all of mine, all costed except for one, which was a cheapie. And trust me, it is not an assault rifle by any means. There's no way. Like, I'll literally show you what the firearm looks like. You guys have probably seen me use it in videos, but there is no way under any circumstances that you could use that specific firearm in any military combat situation. No way. It's stupid. First of all these guns are semi-automatic. Like, what are these guys going to do with these guns? They want full automatic, not semi-automatic, for one. Number two is the tax implications of this. I'm going to bust out the calculator real quick, just so that way we could do some quick math. So let's say they give us $1,000. Let's say there's even 500,000 of these guns. We are now talking about $500 million. A huge tax burden on the citizens of Canada, because now the entirety of Canada has to pay for this buyback program, not including shipping these guns overseas to a bunch of people who probably won't even end up using them anyways, and not to mention that the war will probably be over in about a month and a half once Trump takes office. This is utterly stupid and ridiculous. The fact that they're calling this an assault rifle style, whatever the fuck they're even saying. Sorry for swearing, guys, but like, this is so dumb. Like, look at what Justin Trudeau even put on his page. This is so stupid. Military style assault rifles don't belong in your community, so we've banned them. Like, no explanation as to why. Just the simple fact that by looking at this, sorry for this annoying ass music, but just for the fact of the way that it looks, not even based on how it functions. This is clearly showing the sheer utter stupidity of the liberals here in Canada. It says, and he also wrote another thing attached to this tweet, and our buyback system that collects and destroys these banned firearms has launched with an early pilot program. In the coming days, it will open to businesses and later to individuals so they can turn over these weapons. So all of these guns that people spend thousands of dollars on as an investment to learn how to shoot, to use it for hunting, you know, obviously those are the main reasons, but like to learn how to basically do those things, thousands of dollars per citizen wasted, right? Now, hypothetically, we have probably about 1 million to 2 million licensed gun owners in Canada. Hypothetically, if each person owns, let's say 50 of these rifles, 50 rifles, that means the government now, as of today, owes you what, $50,000 to $75,000, maybe even more. It's absolutely stupid. It's just dumb. None of this actually makes any sense whatsoever. I'm sure we're going to hear plenty more of it. But let's see. The Department of National Defense will begin working with the Canadian companies that have weapons that Ukraine needs. What weapons does Ukraine need? Like, why would they want it from us? We don't even have good guns here in Canada. All the good guns are banned. Like, they were banned four almost 5 years ago now, and which are already eligible for the Assault Firearm Compensation Program in order to get these weapons out of Canada and into the hands of the Ukrainians, says Defense Minister Bill Blair. What an idiot. What an utter moron. Owners of the prohibited firearms have been granted an amnesty period until October 30th, 2025. That's funny because I'm pretty sure that's when the next election in Canada is. It's kind of odd how the dates are, you know, kind of coinciding together. And all the newly added models will be rolled into the government's existing buyback program. Will the government announce that while the government announced that the phase 1 of the buyback program is officially underway, not a single firearm has been confiscated to date, despite the program already costing taxpayers nearly $100 million. Additionally, new measures stemming from Bill C-21 include provisions that reduce the threshold for firearms licenses to be revoked from people who commit violent acts. The announcement comes on the 35th anniversary of the mass shooting at École Polytechnique in Montreal that killed 14 women, timing that some critics of the ban view as political. Obviously, this is clearly a political move. The Liberals are desperate to change the channel from multi-billion dollar scandals to keeping Canadians safe. Canadian Coalition for Firearms Rights Executive Director Rod Giltaca told True North. They've done the complete opposite over the last 9 years. Second, this move is astoundingly cynical. The Liberals know full well that they will confiscate 0 firearms as they are out of time, and there is no doubt that the Conservatives will afford an indisputable majority government within 10 months. Now, let me put some of my input here for you guys. If you are a Canadian firearms owner and you happen to own one or more of these firearms on this list, do not, under any circumstances, keep it nonviolent. Of course, do not give these guns to the government under any circumstances. If they want them, they can come and get them. You need a search warrant to enter my house. First of all, here's another thing. So we have 2 classifications of firearm licensing here in Canada. We have what's called the non-restricted license and then the restricted license. So I'll explain it. Non-restricted is essentially any long gun, so this can include shotgun, rifle, essentially any type of action. It could be semi-automatic, it could be lever action, doesn't matter. As long as it's 18.7 inches, the barrel length, or more, that makes it non-restricted. So what that means is that you can essentially do more or less anything with that rifle in the context that you can take it hunting, you can shoot it on private property with permission. If it's your property, obviously you don't need permission because you're giving yourself permission. Or you can go to the shooting range, whatever you want to do. The restricted license now gives you the opportunity, I guess, if you will, to buy any short barrel rifles or previously handguns, although those are banned right now. So anything that's less than 18.7 inches in barrel length would be considered restricted. Now, the only ones that are actually in the RCMP, that have to actually be registered in the RCMP system, is any restricted firearm, which in my opinion, why even waste time buying a restricted firearm? Because it's too complicated to even buy them. You have to be part of a gun club. You have to follow specific rules. You can't take them hunting. You can't shoot them on private property. The only thing you can actually do with a restricted firearm is take it from your house to the shooting range, back to your house, put back in the safe. That's literally all you can do. So in my opinion, pretty much useless. But in terms of non-restricted, the great part about that is that they were never registered. So that means any of the firearms that I own, the government technically doesn't have a fucking clue what I own unless they decide they're going to go and do some deep digging and go to every single gun store across Canada and take all of their paperwork, which I hope that none of those businesses relinquish that paperwork without proper, jurisdiction or subpoena, if you will. I'm hoping that like Cabela's and Firearms Outlet, I hope none of them play along with this. They lawyer up and they protect themselves and they protect us, their customers, as well. It's ridiculous. Like I was even going on Cabela's.ca earlier. A lot of the firearms that were previously available that are now on this prohibited list are gone. They're all not even listed anymore. It is absolutely insane. Like I don't even know what to say anymore. Like there's the firearms here are like, even when I show my American friends, they're just kind of like, oh, those are cute, right? Like we don't have AR-15s or AK-47s, M16s. Those have been banned for years now. They shouldn't be, but they are, right? It's simply based on the way they look. Now, let me show you one in particular. So this is a high point. This is a cheapy rifle. Does this look like a military combat assault style rifle of some sort? Dude, like you could maybe kill like a rabbit or something. Well, no, you could kill a human being. They shoot 9mm, but like this gun sucks. This has been banned? What? That's insane. Okay. Excuse me. But yeah, stuff like that has been banned. Obviously, I have other scarier looking firearms than that one, but that's just to kind of give you an example of what it is that they're doing. Let's actually read what they've written here on the government website. This appears to be as of today. It was pretty hard even finding the new prohibited list, but I did manage to find it here, and it's like so dumb. So they've taken further strong steps to tackle gun crime and uphold its commitment to keep cities and communities safe. Now, let me just point out that the gun crime, majority of it, and when I say majority, I'm talking about 99.9999% of the gun crime here in Canada is not coming from legal firearm owners. Yes, there was an incident several years ago, I believe it was in Nova Scotia, where an idiot took his legal firearms, well, legal at the time, and basically started shooting at police officers, and it was insane. Unfortunately, the police officers at the time, which were RCMP, were not fit to deal with the situation because they did not have carbine style rifles. They simply only had handguns, which in my opinion is just stupid. Extended prohibition of assault style firearms, keyword there, style. It's not actually an assault firearm, whatever that even is supposed to mean. As part of its comprehensive approach, on December 5th, 2024, the government announced the prohibition of more military style, assault style. How many times you got to write style in one sentence? Accompanying the prohibition is an amnesty order, which expires on October 30, 2025. That protects businesses and owners while they came into compliance with the law. I'm going to actually look up at the date of the next upcoming election election. I believe it's before that. The amnesty also provides a temporary exception for Indigenous people exercising a right under Section 35 of the Constitution Act, as well as those who use firearms for sustenance hunting, which enables them to continue to use their newly prohibited firearms to hunt if previously non-restricted until a suitable replacement can be found. Okay, well, I guess in that case, I'll just apply for my hunting license then. Problem solved for a period of time anyway. Amendments to the classification regulations have resulted in the prohibition of 104 families of firearms encompassing 324 unique makes and models. The full list appears below. Over 19,000 non-restricted makes and models, equating to over 127,000 variations of firearms, remain available for hunting and sport shooting. Until those ones become banned too, because big scary looking gun, right? So basically, like, what they're saying here is to all of the manufacturers, because we have Canadian manufacturers who are making firearms that are kind of similar to what might be available in the United States gun market. So for example, sometimes they use a lot of AR-15 parts to make the gun more efficient. So basically what they're saying is, fuck those companies that make those guns, and now we're going to effectively put them out of business. And they're also going to effectively put a lot of ranges out of business and a lot of firearm stores out of business too. So too bad, so sad, I guess. I feel for those people, man. Like, people who've been, these firearm stores that have been like trying really hard to follow the rules and regulations. I cannot wait until the next election. I hope we get one as early as March. I really cannot wait to see these liberals get out of here. They're going to hell. They're going to absolute hell. So the government intends to take regulatory amendments in Parliament on December 13, following through on commitments to make sure that all makes and models of firearms are accounted for prior to entering the Canadian market. The government also continues to act to fully implement former Bill C-21, with remaining provisions to come into force early in the new year, in particular no later than January, blah, 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 blah. Let's see. The government will provide fair compensation for business and owners affected by this prohibition. What do they consider fair? That's my opinion. Are you going to actually pay me what I paid for the firearm? Because if you're going to shortchange, you're going to ban what I put my hard-earned money into, right? Something that I actually enjoyed. I didn't buy a firearm with the intention of trying to harm somebody, right? I bought it because it's a hobby that I enjoy. I think that I should have the right to own a firearm, especially considering we do everything in a safe manner. None of this makes any sense. So this is where it gets really funny. So I started looking at the list. Several of my firearms, like I said, are on this list. And what was the one? There's one here that I was actually looking at getting. Let me just search it up here. Keltec. So I was actually looking at, I can't remember exactly which one it was. I believe it was the SU-16A. However, there is the SU-22, which are 22 LR rifles. The Kodiak Defense, these are all Canadian made. 223s, 556, can't use those anymore. Chris Vector, all their 22s, gone. 10 millimeter, I believe, was the CRB, gone, banned. What else is on here? Ruger PC carbine, which is also known as the PC9, which shoots 9 millimeter, gone. All gone. There's even one, it was really funny because, where is it? Let me just find it on my phone. But there's one that my friend Mo was about to buy just for fun. It's literally a 22 LR. You can look it up. Where is it? Here it is. So he was going to buy what's called the GSG 16. It's a really popular, cheap gun. 22 LR, 9-inch black for $499. They banned it. They literally banned a 22 simply because of the way it looks. It's like, dude, it's literally a pea shooter at this point. Let me bring up what it looks like on the screen, because it's actually funny, the fact that they would so stupidly do this. Now we'll see what else they end up doing. It looks like they're going to start trying to ban magazines too, high capacity magazines, whatever the hell that means. I mean, it's like a cool looking little thing, but like it's a baby, it's a toy. It's literally a toy. Like, what are you going to do with this? Come on. This got banned? Why? Because it's simply because of the way it looks. Because of, it's got the pick rails and the neat looking little barrel there. Obviously the adjustable stock. You can throw a nice little red dot on it. Can't use that anymore. Nope, that's illegal. Insane. Absolute insanity. So yeah, that's currently where we're at in Canada. I think there was more here, but like everything, like people, this doesn't make any sense. Like, I can't believe, like, I can't shoot just simply because it has like a pick rail, basically. I can't shoot this little tiny rifle that I have over here, which is essentially utterly useless. I literally just bought it because it looked funny and I wanted to experiment with a really, really cheap rifle. And now this is where we're at. Justin Trudeau has got to go. Now, if you remember, or if you know history well enough, what happened to Cuba? What did Fidel Castro, what was one of the first things that he did when he began the revolution in Cuba? He took away everyone's guns. What's happening right now in Canada? We just lost 19,000 more models of guns. So, if that tells you anything, we are now experiencing a tyrannical government. I was talking with my friend earlier, and he actually brought up a very good point. And he said, because we're all pretty young, we have a group of friends, we're all like in our early 30s. And it's interesting because he said, right to bear arms against a tyrannical government. Canada has become that. But unfortunately, we don't have really the constitutional right to keep and bear arms because we are not the United States. Maybe, I think that a lot of legal gun owners here in Canada, who are probably conservative, moderate, maybe even some liberals, are going to start agreeing on the idea of becoming the 51st state of the United States. But my friend also said, man, the older you get, the more the U.S. Constitution makes sense. And I have to agree with him. I've been saying this for years now. After doing a lot of traveling, learning about the United States, the country obviously is not perfect. They got their own problems, politically and otherwise. But the U.S. still has a firm constitution, the Second Amendment. Everybody has that right. But, of course, unless you're a criminal or you do bad things, right? Or, mental issues, but that's a totally different scenario. But otherwise, people have the legal right in the United States to keep and bear arms. Here in Canada, we cannot do that. I've been reading more and exploring the idea of self-defense here in Canada, and it's kind of a joke. The fact that we cannot actually legally defend ourselves is an utter joke. For the most part, under certain circumstances, right? Somebody's coming at you with a gun and you shoot them, you will probably go to jail. That's the thing, right? So, but like, if somebody breaks into your house with a gun, what are you going to show up to a rifle fight with a knife? Doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense whatsoever. Anyways, it is getting kind of late. I just kind of wanted to discuss this. It'll be interesting to see what happens now, what the Conservatives end up doing in Parliament. Are they going to fight back? What I'm going to actually do after I get off of this, I'm going to probably message my MP, my member of Parliament, who is a Liberal, but I want her to damn well know that this is ridiculous. I at least want her to know it. She's probably not going to respond. She's not going to care. But I want her to know that I think she's an idiot for agreeing with this. Because clearly these people don't know anything about guns. When they pass these laws in Canada, they are not bringing in gun specialists. They're not bringing in anybody who even knows a single thing about guns. Meanwhile, they're making the laws about guns. So it's like you're going to build a 60-floor skyscraper, for example. Are you not going to hire an engineer? Are you not going to hire somebody to design the building who actually knows what they're doing? Or are you just going to start getting a pile of wood and building a 60-floor building? No, obviously you're going to hire an architect, an engineer. You're going to hire these people who actually know what they're doing. So when coming up with these rules on firearms here in Canada, why are you not doing the same thing? It's a show. It's a show of force. They're showing us that we as Canadian citizens do not have any rights anymore in this country. And any rights that we do still have left are slowly slipping away. Every day it is getting worse. We're seeing journalists getting arrested. We're seeing protesters set our flag on fire in the streets while chanting death to Canada. And then now they're even taking away our guns. The guns that we have left. 22s, for God's sake. 22s. Because it looks scary. That's the reason why they're doing it, because they don't know a single thing about firearms. I can assure you, Trudeau has probably never fired a gun in his entire life. He wouldn't know the difference between a 308 and a 22 because he's fucking clueless, and that's obvious. Again, sorry for swearing, but rant over. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, we're going to hold off. I am not doing a single thing with my guns. My guns, you want them? Come and get them. But other than that, hope you guys enjoyed this show. Smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and turn those notifications on. And we will actually see you again very, very shortly. I had my good friend on yesterday. That those videos were actually supposed to be up before this one, but this is kind of like an emergency broadcast, so we're doing it. But yeah, like I said, I will see you guys in the next episode.